And I think also a lot of time, certainly in conversations like this, it is so easy to accidentally say something, a slip of the tongue, or just in conversation that um, could offend somebody. And you know, I don't mean deliberately remaining ignorant. That's completely different. But I think there is that fear that if we talk about this subject, we're going to say something that's going to upset somebody. And I think, you know, you saying earlier about, you know, there are certain things you have to sit with. I've recently been thinking about a period of time where I said somebody to someone out of complete ignorance. And it wasn't, I didn't mean to hurt them in any way. I don't even know if I did hurt them, but now knowing what I know, I, you know, I think about, I go back to thinking about, shit, I said that to somebody, basically implying that I was questioning their own, you know, identity. And I really didn't mean to, you know, to upset them. If I did, I don't even know if I did, but that constant worry of, am I going to say something to upset somebody? And I think to that, I would say we need to appreciate that we are constantly learning, especially or constantly learning and constantly unlearning, because, you know, a lot of this language that we've been raised with is not okay. Now it's not acceptable. It will hurt somebody. And we have to allow ourselves to unlearn those things, make mistakes as we go along, accept that we're human and that sometimes there'll be a slip of the tongue, or in conversation it will just come out sounding wrong even though you didn't mean it to sound that way. And I think that's, you know, that's important as well for growing your communication skills.
Absolutely. And I'm actually so glad you brought that up, Leanne, because I am working on a communication course that speaks exactly to that point. So the course is how to take yourself from afraid of offending to confidently making connections. And we cover in a module, in the last two modules, we cover how, you know, how to ask questions without offending people, but also what to do if you slip up, because we are all human and we're gonna make mistakes. So one thing I would say to what you just said is, I mean, I've been the receiving end of offensive comments quite often as a woman of color, but also as a human being, I've offended people plenty as well, you know. But what I would say is that we need to realize that communications is a two-way street. And if we say something offensive to somebody, we often sit with it and we often think we sit with it. We sometimes people try to make excuses for it and be like, oh, that person was oversensitive, or oh, everything is complicated nowadays. So some people try to make excuses for it. And some people like yourself, Leanne, will try to learn from it, which is exactly what we should be doing. But there's another part to it that I feel is very important, is that we need to go back to the person we thought we offended, and we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. As a person who's been offended, I would appreciate it if people would come back to me and ask me, were you offended? Why were you offended? Let's have a conversation about it. Because now I know that person genuinely wants to learn how to better themselves, and they genuinely want to make things right with me, especially especially if it's someone important in your life. You know, maybe if it's a passing stranger, you can maybe just learn next time. But if it's someone who's close in your life and who is, you know, you're going to be seeing a lot, these conversations are really important for us to have.